Okay, we're on the railroad today and it is cold. I'm glad we dug the Panama Canal on Saturday because today it's cold. We're going to fill in some with the cat. We're going to haul some riprap. But I wanted to tell you, we got kind of a surprise inspection on our tracks. Now, how that happened was the railroad that we connect to, we're a terminal railroad. We got to be involved with partners. They came in. I'd been asking them to come over and see what we were doing, our rehabilitation program, not Graham and I, the railroad tracks. And they came without telling me, which in a way it worked out fine. Now you're thinking, why would you have another railroad in to inspect your tracks? Well, here's why. Everybody interchanges with somebody, and there might be some ore roads that they own the mine, they own the tracks, they own the ship loading, and they don't even interchange with another railroad, but everybody else does. I was watching a delay and block video the other day, and he was talking about a Norfolk Southern train that went to Pine Bluff, Arkansas to interchange with BNSF. And I got thinking about that. That's pretty cool. Something that originates on the East Coast, it's got to get handed over to get to the West Coast. Anyway, this is an interchange point. So our partner, the other railroad, wants to know if they shove 20 cars back in here, what kind of tracks are the cars running on? Because if they all derail, there's going to be finger pointing. They got to know that they're shoving on to tracks that are fit. So here's the inspection. We're going to kind of walk through it. A little bit of explanation on what they saw and what we already knew. The following defects were noted during an inspection of the facility. The second switch in will need ties installed to strengthen conditions and or remove the switch entirely. So from where I am right now, this is the first switch, which must have been appropriate and they liked it, because they're commenting on, by the way, we call this the 700 track. This is where right now I think our best chances of car storage are, because the switch is acceptable, the ties are acceptable. We're doing the brush clearing as we go on there. Now, while I talk to you about brush clearing, I wanted to update you. The water is flowing so much better. The changes we've made are working. I've got some exciting news about a piece of equipment coming to do the ditches here. I'm going to save the announcement, but be listening for that. Reason to like and subscribe. We got some exciting stuff coming up, but they can't clean that ditch until we get a lot of these trees. And the other problem is, what do you do with the spoil, the muck? When they get it out of there, I don't want them to put it on that side. I don't want them to put it on the rail ends. So we've got some ideas for how to haul this. Look at all this. This still needs cleaned up. I'd have had this all cleaned up if I knew he was coming. Now, when he talks about the second switch, this right here is the 700 lead. I'll wipe my nose so you guys don't say I look like an old man. This switch right here is what we call to the J lead. 700 track, J lead. This one he's kind of negative on. The second switch will need ties, and then the third switch back, he's talking about down that ways a ways. But in here, switch ties, they are not easy to replace. Look how long they are. They go, this tie right here, I probably got a tape measure on me, it extends all the way over to here. So replacing that is difficult. But this track right here, this might be our money track. I got to tell you, we're working hard, working in tough conditions, but we haven't made any money yet. So getting cars in here for storage on this track right here. Now, right about here is where one time I said, if you look over in that brush, there's actually rail over there. That's what I was talking about. This was so covered up. We got a lot of it hacked out of there. So that's kind of an update on the track inspection. He comments on switches up the line where we're not working yet. I wanted him to inspect this area, which he did, and I emailed him and told him I agreed with what they found and that we kind of already knew about it. I did want to talk to you about gauge rods. We'll look at them as we go that way. Right now we're going to take a look at the Panama Canal, Boulder Dam, and how this is working. Okay, good Thursday morning. We've got some sunshine and we're going to take advantage of that. Later today it turns colder, cloudier, and snowier. So we've got a couple things we're going to finish. As you can see behind me, we're working on a pretty big brush pile, which the railroad that came in didn't like, and I don't blame them. Their people couldn't walk beyond that on a dark night if they're shoving cars up in here. So we know that that's going to need moved. We're going to use a chipper. What we're going to do here immediately, and we'll leave the camera on, probably be no talking, is unload the grapple. Then you can see the new rail cart. We're going to push that up into place where Graham can reach it with the grapple and throw everything over here. We're going to start elongating that pile this way. You got to be really careful near cables. That would have been a good safety talk. 15 feet minimum from any crane or grapple you're on to power lines. So we want to stay way away from that. We're going to unload in here. This water tells me we've even got drainage problems on this side, but we're dealing with the other side. We're going to finish that, quite a bit of that this morning. We'll have you there to see the ending of that. So here we go with the unloading process. Okay, we're here today to backfill what we've called Boulder Dam. This is working very effectively. Let's start all that over. Okay, we're here working today. It's cold, but Graham's assignment is to take this spoil from the Panama Canal, move it over here to back up Boulder Dam. We're just going to fill this whole area in right here with dirt. Panama Canal's flowing nicely. This comes over here. While he's doing that, I'm going to take the rail cart and get a load of riprap to move up here to reinforce the banks. Okay, so I'm pushing the track cart up through here. On the back of this cart, it says PC. Wouldn't that be funny if that was Penn Central? One of you guys in the comments said something I thought was hilarious. It was that we'd be out of business quicker than the Penn Central. I just laughed and laughed and laughed. Someday I'll have to tell you why that is, why that rubbed me so funny. So unloaded branches off the cart. Now we got another job we're going to do, but I wanted to talk to you about some stuff first. I got a brand new Carhartt jacket for Christmas, but I can't bring myself to wear it. It's really, really nice. My wife got it at Tractor Supply. Had the special order. The order said something about extra girth. I don't know what that meant, but it was a special order. So soon, maybe when we go shopping for locomotives, I'll wear it. It's black. It's the replacement for this, which has kind of got some experience. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I'm running into some of you guys in the hall and you're asking me, am I logging your continuing education hours? No, that's for you to do. Can you imagine if I had 11,000 3-ring binders keeping track of your CEs? No, you keep track of your continuing education. Here's what I mean by that. If you're on one of the 2 pipelines, industrial and terminal railway operator or industrial and terminal railway manager, you got to log your own CEs. Get a 3-ring notebook binder. For right now, just 2 pages will do it. Log the safety meetings. So if you were here the other day for the slips, trips, and falls, put down the date, and let's do it in 15-minute increments. Any training minimum is 15 minutes, so don't put down 6 minutes. 15 minutes for slips, trips, and falls, and for example, the history and players in the derailment industry. That one, log that in for CEs. So you got safety training, you're logging that, and you're logging CEs. If you're on the manager pipeline, you don't have to do the hands-on ones, but you really should, so you know what your people are working on. If you only want to be operations, you could avoid some of the ones on accounting and that kind of thing. So up to you to keep track of your own CEs. What we're going to do with this now is haul the riprap, which is in this pile over here. Kind of a windy day. We're using a new microphone, and I hope that's cutting down. So when you're operating the way we are, you look around the property, see what we can use. We didn't put this pile here, but we're going to utilize it. So what I'm going to do, cut a couple trees down, start carrying this stuff over to the cart, push the cart down to Boulder Dam, where we're going to use this pile up in a constructive way. While I'm doing this, Graham's going to be backfilling Boulder Dam. Like I said earlier, tonight it gets cold and snowy again, so we're going to try and get this done on this beautiful day. You can watch me work here for a minute after I carry 3 or 4 of these boulders over there. You'll probably be bored with watching that, and we'll go on to something else. But this is my fitness program. I don't pay to go to the gym. If we had a bobcat, that's how we'd be doing this. We don't have a bobcat. We got a beautiful day and the energy of our own. So that's the way this will get done. You know, one of my favorite topics is the building of the Transcontinental Railroad. I cannot believe what those guys went through to build that railroad. Sometimes miles a day. Then they had mules and donkeys and horses, but an awful lot of it was manual labor. So this is kind of a old tradition on the railroad, is get her done. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we are going to try something that one of you guys recommended. In fact, a couple of you did, was either spraying WD-40 in there, or somebody said, I think Pam, cooking spray. And there's two problems what we're coming into. On the very top layer here, I think there's silt that has come onto the property as water flowed in here. But in Ohio, if you get down not very far, what you run into is clay. This stuff is very hard to dig by hand. Somebody mentioned they thought, as old as I was, I should know how to use a shovel. This would have been a lot of work by hand because of that material right there. So what we're going to do, we're going to try using some, this is actually hydraulic oil in a Rotella jug, but we're going to try lubricating the side of the bucket. Now, somebody else said with a wider bucket this wouldn't happen. They said something about, and you know what, I totally agree with them. What happens is there's friction by the side of the bucket. The narrower the bucket, the harder it is to get the dirt to fall out. Remember the encyclopedias, Encyclopedia Britannica? If you had a row of those and you grabbed it like this and picked it up, it would probably buckle in the middle and they would all fall out. If you walked up to 3 encyclopedias and grabbed them like this, you could carry them around. That's a narrow bucket. The material won't fall out. Wide bucket, it'll fall out. So we'll probably fast forward this, but I'm going to oil the inside of this bucket and we'll see if it releases better. Thank you guys. Again, thank you subscribers for your contributions and comments. We read them, and in a lot of cases we follow them. You guys are here with us. We appreciate it. Oh, there's oil in my bucket, my bucket, my bucket. There is oil in my bucket. We'll see if it'll release. This is oil, not grease or Pam or WD-40. I think that's going to work. Graham, let's fire this thing up and see what we got. And one other comment. Somebody was being dull and not cutting through roots. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We bought this excavator down in Kentucky to carry big hydraulic jacks with, and we never really did that much, but in the meantime we've used it for all kinds of things. Yes, the teeth are not as sharp as they once were. Maybe like me. That should probably get edited. Okay, the other day I was pushing the new rail cart down the track, and although I don't mind pushing it, pushing steel wheels on steel rail is easy. That's why one locomotive can move many, many cars. There's low friction between a rolling steel wheel on rail. One person can push that really easily. But we got thinking, how could we mechanize this operation to run farther? And the question of how are we going to move the spoil when we have a machine in doing the ditching? So this is a Trackmobile. Many of you are familiar with Trackmobiles. This is an older one, and they make them now bigger, newer, nicer, no doubt. But there are some advantages to this one. The rail wheels are down here, so when you're sitting in this machine driving it on the rubber tires, you're facing that way. When you're operating on the rail, you're still facing that way, but you're going to go that way or that way. The wheels down here are 90 degrees to the rubber tires. The wheels fold up after you get on top of the rail. The wheels fold up, you sit down on the rail, then you're ready to go. We chain them up because they're hydraulic and they just drift off. And that would close off this walkway. So we just chain them up. That's why that's that way. This has got a 453 Detroit in it, which is a screamer. Those make a lot of noise, and they're pretty amazing sounding. We'll operate this for you later. We're not going to run it in this video just because we don't need to, for you to understand what this machine does. But we are thinking, could we buy a dump bed off of a 1-ton truck, maybe a 5-ton truck, a single axle dump truck? Could we buy the bed and the hydraulic cylinder, mount it on the rail cart so that if we get a great all here on high rail gear, he pulls out of the ditch with the ditching bucket, swings over, dumps it into our dump car, which is a dump truck bed mounted on our rail cart, fills it up, maybe only halfway, but puts the material in there. We pull it away with the Trackmobile down to where we want to dump it, and we dump it. That beats all the manual labor that might be involved if we don't do this. Give us your thoughts on doing that. Thank you so much for your contributions of advice. When I say contributions, I mean advice, input, encouragement. We did put oil inside the bucket, and it worked really well. It dumped so much better. We could tell when it was losing its effectiveness, and that's where WD-40 would be nice. Every, what do you think, Graham, 20 minutes? Half hour, you would just spray it again. We forgot to take WD-40, and we had some hydraulic oil. It proved it would work, and it proved you were right.